year by Robinson Farmer Cox, and here today is Ann Paul to give us a report.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here to report to you very briefly about the audit we recently conducted for the Virginia Association of Counties. Our audit was conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, and those standards require us to plan and perform our audit to obtain reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. Those standards also require us to evaluate the overall financial statements and the application of accounting principles so that we can issue our opinion. I'm pleased to report to you that our audit work allowed us to issue an unqualified opinion on the financial statement presentation. Unqualified is a clean opinion, and that's the highest level of opinion that you can receive from an auditor. I believe in the registration package you may have been provided with the audited 3-year financial statement presentation. That includes the information from this audit that we conducted and then the prior two. That information was consolidated. I think I reported this to you last year, but I want you to know that it's consolidated so that it includes the operations of the association, but also of VACo Services, which is the wholly owned subsidiary that was incorporated to receive all the non-dues revenue of the association from the entrepreneurial ventures of the association. And it also includes the operations of the 1207 East Main Street. At the conclusion of our audit, we did propose some adjusting entries, and those have been posted to the accounting records of the association. So the association records do mirror the financial statements that were audited and presented. I want to report to you that we received excellent cooperation from the management and staff from top to bottom during the course of our field work and audit report preparation. We had no disagreements with management over anything. We also issued a management letter at the conclusion of our audit, and as auditing standards require, we will follow up on those comments at the subsequent year's audit. I'd like to conclude by saying that we at Robinson Farmer Cox Associates appreciate the opportunity to serve as auditors for the association and to the membership, and we appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
I think it's in order for a motion to accept and approve the financial audit. I have a motion. Second. Is there discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And next on our agenda is General Counsel's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. It has been an active year in the legal arena. This year, we've continued to focus on acting as a resource on legal issues to our member counties through their elected officials, through their administration and staff, and through their legal counsel. I work closely with the county's legal counsel through the Local Government Attorneys Association of Virginia, and on behalf of VACo, this year, as in past years, I presented at their spring conference a legislative report detailing the things that we worked on behalf of our membership. As in past years, we received several requests for participation in cases involving localities as a friend of the court. And we had 2 very important cases this year, neither of which we've gotten a decision on, so we're waiting. One involved a request from Campbell County involving some very, very important environmental issues involving their landfill. Another from Henrico County involving the Freedom of Information Act. Both cases involve issues that are important to all localities in Virginia, and we look forward to positive outcomes in those cases. We continue to offer recently updated versions of publications to help and support localities, including the County Supervisor's Manual and the Board Procedure Booklet. And finally, this year was a really interesting year in the legal arena. VACo participated in an important tax case in the State Corporation Commission, along with 90 other localities. And this case involved Verizon and Verizon South, who sought to have their personal property tax reduced statewide by over 40%. The outcome, if Verizon had been successful, would have been millions of dollars of lost revenue for Virginia localities. Because we all banded together and worked hard on this issue, Verizon withdrew their case and the State Corporation Commission dismissed the case, thus preserving this stream of revenue for localities. This concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Motion to accept the report? Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. And Mr. Campbell, our Executive Director. Speak to us, Jim.
Aye, Captain. Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to address you. And first thing I would like to do is add just a few more observations from Tuesday's elections, if I may. Dr. Halsworth did an excellent job of explaining to you the state issues, the legislative changes and everything. And one of the biggest challenges that we're going to be faced with now is working with the state, because it is all controlled by one party. And I've talked to several legislators already, and certainly encouraged some moderation, if they would, or even some power sharing at the Senate level, since it is literally split 50-50. But it doesn't appear that that's going to be the situation. Back in, I believe it was 1995, we had a similar situation of 2020, and there in fact was power sharing among the committee chairs and the committee assignments. But what we have to remember is back in 1995, the president of the Senate, the lieutenant governor, was a Democrat, and the city governor was a Republican. So there was even more of a reason to share responsibilities. With this new environment, it's going to be a very, very much more difficult challenge to work with some of the legislators, because there's still a sense that VACo, and they've expressed it time and time again, that VACo is a Democrat organization. I think I can prove otherwise here. Let me talk a little bit about the local elections, the county elections. Some of you may have already seen a report similar to this, but there were 407 seats at the county supervisor's level that were up for election. That's out of about 550. And I have to say about because, frankly, during the redistricting process, some counties created an additional district or seat, and some actually eliminated some seats. So I'm going to have to go back and reestablish exactly the number of county seats, or county supervisors. It's approximately 550. And this year we elected 407 of those seats. Now, 304 incumbents sought re-election. And it was a good year. 77%, 235 of them, won their re-election. But you couldn't convince those 69 that lost that it was a good year, I suppose. So 23% of the incumbents did lose their election. Now, what does this mean statewide? There are 172 new supervisors statewide. That's a 42% turnover. 42% turnover. Speaks to the idea of, do we really need term limits? It seems like the people speak at the polls. But don't be alarmed about that 42%. In the last 20 years, the county elections, which are held every other year because some counties have staggered terms, the turnover has ranged between 35 and 48%. So 42% is right about the average that we always experience. It's interesting. What is even more significant is when we look at some individual counties and the response to the electorate by the electorate at individual counties. One county, Bath County, had 100% turnover on the Board of Supervisors. But in addition to the 100% of the Board of Supervisors governing body, 4/5 of our constitutional officers turned over too. So they're going to have a significant change here in Bath County. So Bath was the only one that was experiencing 100% turnover, but we had 3 counties, Cumberland, Dinwiddie, and Goochland, that experienced 80% turnover. That's a big change too. And then Loudoun County, traditionally, and I say traditionally because for the past 4 election cycles, they have usually turned 7 out of 9 over, and they did it again this year, 78%.
Please deliver, Jim.
Once again, provides an opportunity for change. Augusta County experienced 71%, and then Charles City and Highland County both experienced 2/3 turnover on their Board of Elections. Board of Supervisors, excuse me. Now these statistics were only for those counties that do not have staggered terms. A number of you have staggered terms, and in some cases, all of the new seats turned over, or all of the seats that were voted on turned over. But I just wanted to share with you those high numbers that are specifically apparent. So, now, we talk about VACo, the perception that VACo is a Democrat organization. Well, we could break it down this year. 36% of the county supervisors ran with the label, Republican label, on the ballot. 36%. 17% ran as Democrats. And obviously I left 47% that runs in independents, and it's your call whether they're Republican or Democrat. But I think clearly that we can start arguing effectively that we are no longer a Democrat-run organization, controlled organization. I don't know if we can convince the state folks about that or not. Now, we did have a couple of very, very close races around the state. The closest race was in Goochland County, where one supervisor, a new supervisor, won by 6 votes. That's pretty close. That's pretty close. Here in Bath County, one of the contests was settled by 8 votes. Russell County had one contest settled by only 10 votes, and New Kent had one settled by 12 votes. So, you know, the people are getting out and getting active, and it just goes to show you that you really need to work hard and get your folks out. There was also one very, very interesting race in the state. I shared this with the board of directors on Sunday there. You know, there's a perception that some of the elected officials are heartless. They have no sympathy for the people. They don't understand what's going on. They just have no heart at all. Well, there was a case down in Middlesex County where one of the candidates literally about 2 months ago had his heart removed and replaced by a mechanical heart, awaiting a heart transplant. And that's our own Jack Miller. So he is truly heartless, and he ran his campaign effectively and got reelected. And so he, in my mind, is the only heartless supervisor that we have now, and he's going to hopefully be one of our officers here soon. So let me move on very briefly to our conference here. If you looked around a little bit, you should have noticed that we had more registrants this year than we did last year. So we bottomed out, we hope, and hopefully we can start growing this conference even more. With all of the new supervisors, we hope there will be more participation in the future. But it is growing. We have more people here than we had last year. Exhibit hall was better than we had last year, so we're seeing that as certainly a positive thing. The important thing, though, is to stay involved in your organization. And we have some opportunities in your packet. There was a whole host of opportunities here that we hope that you filled out to participate in your organization. The first opportunity, obviously, is going to be January 6th through 8th. We have a special seminar, a couple-day seminar that is designed to expose our newly elected folks to what their responsibilities are going to be as a county supervisor. I know many of them probably have no clue what they're getting into, and they're going to be surprised, I believe. Again, it is designed for the newly elected, but we really invite folks that have been around a few years to attend as well, because there is a host of new issues that are on the horizon that we can let you know is coming down the pike, and we think it's very important for both the new and the veteran county supervisors to understand what there is. Legislative Day is scheduled for February the 9th. So it's not too early to start planning for that, with the preceded by the Rural Caucus on dinner on February the 8th. And of course, we also tie in with the Chairperson's Institute for the new chairs and vice chairs, February 9th through the 11th. So we invite you to take advantage of these educational opportunities, encourage certainly the new folks and some of the veteran folks to attend our Supervisors Conference in Richmond January 6th through the 8th. And last but not least, committee interest. We do this every year. We require you to turn in your sheets every year. There are already some boxes in the back to receive your expression, which committees that you would like to serve on. And we will be putting those committees together in early January and notifying you of your opportunities. We hope everybody will take advantage of the opportunity to help make your organization a worthwhile one. I appreciate the opportunity to lead your staff here at VACo. Working with the Board of Directors and Executive Committee has been a pleasure. Certainly in this past year, Mr. Atkins, I've enjoyed it and looking forward to at least a few more years of good service to VACo. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thank you, sir.
Motion to accept the director's report. We don't have to, we'll do it anyway. And a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Good affirmation there.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda is committee reports. First committee being the Credentials Committee.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Credentials Committee, I am pleased to report that all 95 counties have paid their dues to this association and are eligible to vote. The Credentials Committee met this weekend and determined that 85 counties are properly credentialed to cast a total of 155 votes. That's out of a possible 166 votes in today's meeting. On behalf of the Credentials Committee, which included Ms. Doretha Moody from Dinwiddie County, Mr. Roger Hayden from Patrick County, and Ms. Linda Smith from Fairfax County, we present this as our credentials report, sir.
Motion to accept the credentials report.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next, resolutions. Resolutions Committee. Ms. Captain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Resolutions Committee met first in October and then again yesterday morning, and the Resolution Committee adopted what becomes our legislative program. You should have in the back the amendments that were part of the result of the Resolution Committee, and as well as the original draft piece that was part of your package. And at this time, Mr. Chairman, I would like to put on the table a motion to accept the draft from the Resolution Committee.
We have a motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? We're looking for discussion on the motion.
I think we have one consideration for change.
Thank you.
Ms. Cannon, yes.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. Yesterday, the
There's
leadership...
a mic right
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yesterday, the leadership from Northern Virginia localities, Prince William, Fairfax, and Loudoun County, made just a couple of changes, actually 2 changes. One was to separate the draft paragraph into 2, and that would help to emphasize those in Northern Virginia that oppose devolution. And by adding a phrase to allow flexibility for counties that do want to administer the projects, it would be the second paragraph, the first sentence, after VDOT to administer all projects financed. What page is that on? 17? I don't have the page. 17. Would you like me to repeat that again?
Yes.
Okay. There are 2 changes. Separating the draft paragraph into 2. And the reason for this is that it would help to emphasize opposition to devolution. However, adding a phrase to allow the flexibility for counties who want to administer the projects. And that change, it's one change, in the second paragraph where it says, in addition, VACo supports amendments of the Code of Virginia that would require VDOT to administer all projects financed by VDOT. And the addition there would be, unless otherwise agreed to by the locality. Just being flexible. And then the last sentence, instead of administer, it would be administered, ED. And that's it.
Okay, so we have both, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A second. And so we have a motion with a second, and the changes are made on page 17 and 19. All those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? And Mr. Chairman, hearing no opposition, then we have an amended report for the legislative program that I am submitting for acceptance.
You have heard the reading from the Resolutions Committee. Do I hear a motion to accept that with the amendment?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Do we have other committee to report at this time, Mr. Director? Item 10 on the agenda, adoption of the legislative program. That was all of the above. We have done that. Thank you. Number 11, Richard Flora, report for the nominating committee. Thank you, Richard, for your service to us in that capacity.
Thank you, Mr. President. The nominating committee met yesterday afternoon to choose a slate of officers to serve for the year 2012. During that process, we had some very good discussion and deliberated over a number of good candidates. Mr. President, we are pleased to present the following slate of officers for VACo 2012. President, Catherine Hudgens, Fairfax County. President-elect John Miller, Middlesex County. First Vice President Harrison Moody, Dinwiddie County. Second Vice President Paula Cuevas, Rockingham County, and Secretary Treasurer Penny Groves from Fairfax County. And of course, immediate past President Robert Atkins from Wise County. Mr. President, that is the slate of officers recommended by the nominating committee. Following the filling of this, I will then proceed to report on the regional caucus.
You have heard the reading of the slate of officers to be considered. Are there further nominations?
Mr. President, I move acclamation of the slate.
Second.
Thank you. By acclamation of the slate, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? We are duly elected.
Mr. President, in addition, the regional caucus met on Sunday afternoon to elect directors to serve for a 2-year term on the board of directors. And those are as follows: Region 2, Sharon Alsop, King and Queen County. Region 3, Gilbert Smith, Charles City County, and there's a vacancy also in Region 3. Region 4, Nancy Carwile from Charlotte County. Region 7, Chester Stribling from Fauquier County. Region 8, Maureen Cadigan from Prince William County, and Linda Smith from Fairfax County. And there are also 2 vacancies yet in Region 8. Region 9, William Piker, Rockingham County. Region 10, Mary Biggs from Montgomery County. And Region 13, John Bowerbank from Russell County. Mr. President, those are the directors as a result of the regional caucus.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much. You've heard that reading. You do not have to approve those. Those are approved by the VACo Board of Directors. And on our next item will be installation of officers and directors. Please come in just right here in the front, and we will do the ceremony and honor.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
If you will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. That I will support. The Constitution and the laws of the United States. The Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And the bylaws of the Virginia Association of Counties. And that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all duties incumbent upon me as an officer or director of the Virginia Association of Counties. According to the best of my ability, so help me God. Congratulations.